All right, everyone. Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. We've got smiles on our faces tonight. After a couple rough ones, we didn't really know how this whole thing was going to play out. The Dodgers rally to win tonight. They win 7-3 over the Braves in Game 5 to bring the series to 3-2, forcing a Game 6 tomorrow where Walker Buehler will be on the mound for the Dodgers, Max Fried for the Dodgers. There's a lot to talk about tonight. There's some bullpen decisions that were made. There's a Chris Taylor injury. There's hope, maybe. But obviously the biggest story, the Dodgers stay alive. Corey Seager hits 2 home runs. Will Smith hits a massive home run. The Dodger bullpen, a bullpen that has been much maligned, much criticized. Guys that have been shaky look good. Kenley Jansen, Blake Trinan, Brusdar Graterol. So lots to talk about, but Daniel, I mean, aside from the obvious, the Dodgers win, the Dodgers stay alive, what jumps out at you from this one?
I mean, yeah, obviously doing these shows is a lot more fun when they win than when they lose. So happy to be here with a smile on my face, not talking about how the season's over. I mean, hey, for me, the takeaway was just that they were able to bounce back. Like, they kind of sleptwalked through the first, 3 or 4 innings of this game, which was not fun to watch.
No.
Like, it was, I wanted to throw some stuff at my TV, like, at least 3 or 4 times. But, you know, oddly enough, it was a defensive play that kind of turned things around. Mookie makes that shoestring catch and right, and Ozuna leaves early. And then the next inning, Seager comes up and homers, and the Dodgers just got rolling from there. So it was a good win. You know, everyone looked good outside of maybe Dustin May. Rough outing for him, but hey, maybe he's now available in Game 7 out of the bullpen. I don't know, maybe. But it was a good win. It's good for them to stay alive. Maybe they could gain some momentum. We got Walker Buehler throwing tomorrow, so, you know, who knows?
Yeah, so the Dodgers, they fall behind 1-0 in the first. May gives up another run in the second, so they're down 2-0. Corey Seager gets one back in the fourth after Mookie Betts makes a great play, as you indicated, to end the third. Marcell Ozuna standing on third. The Dodgers look like they're in trouble. Betts makes a shoestring grab, which is one of those plays where I don't think we all appreciate exactly how difficult that was to run full speed and reach. I mean, just run full speed and try and put the back of your hand on the ground and recognize how difficult it was what Mookie Betts did. He makes the catch. Ozuna, for whatever reason, looks like he's completely lost, hops off the base by about 3 feet, doesn't know whether to go right or left. He goes right home. He's safe. They review it. He didn't tag up, so the Dodgers get out of the inning. Corey Seager begins the next inning with a home run. You start to think, hey, this is it. Then the Dodgers go quietly in the fourth. They go quietly in the fifth, but then things change in the sixth inning, and what an unbelievable sixth inning it really was for the Dodgers. I thought that was, I mean, this is the moment to me that obviously we're going to look back on if this series changes and the Dodgers can make a really big run here. But it was such an unbelievable inning because Will Smith comes in to face Max Muncy. He walks him the night before. He walks him again. Excuse me. I guess I got to go back up. Mookie starts with the infield single. Seager pops out. Mookie steals second base. Turner grounds out, but Mookie gets caught in a rundown. So you have Justin Turner on second base with 2 outs. Seager and Turner at that point, they both missed on a bunch of mistakes. Shane Green was in for the Braves for the third night in a row and wasn't very good. They bring in Will Smith to face Muncy, who walked him the night before. He walks him again. So now we've got runners on first and second with 2 outs. Will Smith comes up. Now this was fascinating to me because Will Smith has come up with runners on first and second and 2 outs, I believe 2 other times at least in this series. He comes up. Pitch number 1 is a ball that gets called a strike. Pitch number 2 is a ball that gets called a strike. So he's down 0-2 and hasn't even seen a strike yet. He takes 3 great pitches, unbelievable takes, and then gets a fastball down and in that he absolutely golfs out. It broke an 0-for-11 streak that the Dodgers had with runners in scoring position. The Dodgers go up 4-2, and it was just an unbelievable moment, especially for a guy like Smith that I just love more and more every time I see him play.
Yeah, to me, that was the best at bat I've seen all season, just considering, you know, the circumstances and everything that was riding on it. We've talked a lot on this show about how unlucky Will Smith has been. The guy just always hits the ball hard all the time, but always seems to find a glove. And we saw him get lucky again. Like he took the first two pitches. Both were outside the strike zone, which the strike zone all night was awful. Like he was just, I don't know whoever the home plate umpire, he was all over the place. It was horrible. But so Smith takes, two pitches, both were balls, called strikes. So he's down 0-2. Like that's a rough spot to be in, right? The other Will Smith, he's one of the best relief pitchers that, the Braves have to offer. Like he's really good. It's hard to talk about this when they're both named Will Smith, but our Will Smith, he didn't panic. He stayed calm. He worked to get the count back in his favor, and then when the pitcher finally made a mistake, 3-2, threw him a down and in fastball, but he left it up a little bit, and our guy did what he was supposed to do with it. He absolutely destroyed that ball, and I feel like that just injected like all the life back into this team.
Yeah, and here's what I want to say, Dodger fans. If you're listening, turn it up, because I want to tell you why I actually think this moment is significant and why I actually feel different about Game 6 now than I did. Last night I said the Dodgers are going to win Game 5 and they're going to lose the series. That was my prediction. I had no hope and I had no confidence. Here's why I'm starting to shift. Because for the first time in the series, for the first time in the postseason really, the Dodgers faced adversity. They stared hopelessness in the face. They stared the listless, energyless start that they had in the face, and they got the hit that they needed. It was the first time, right? The only other win they had in this series, they score 11 runs in the first. There's never a doubt. There's never any adversity. There's never any questioning in their head that they have to fight through. In this game, it was completely different. Everything was working against them. They're down 1-0 in the first. They're down 2-0 in the second. Even when they get a home run in the third, then their bats go quiet for 2 innings after that. And so it's kind of like, what are they going to do? They battle back. Mookie steals second. Then he gets caught in the rundown, and you're like, great, here we go again. They had a runner on first, and they just can't do it. They couldn't get the hit off of Green. And all of a sudden, Will Smith, the 24-year-old, 25-year-old catcher, absolutely demolishes the ball, catches it as clean as possible. I love the reaction, too, just walking, knew it as soon as he got it. Knew it right away, and absolutely crushes it. So then the Dodgers go up 4-2, and it's sort of like, okay, how's this going to play out? Can they hold the other team back? Because then I'm looking and I'm like, oh, we just scored in the 6th. This is awesome. Only 9 more outs. Oh, wait, we're the road team. We got to get 12 more outs. We're barely halfway done with this game. Baez comes in, 1-2-3 inning. His changeup was working, absolutely filthy. The Dodgers come up in the next inning. Taylor with a 2-out double. They're down to 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 7th. Chris Taylor doubles. Mookie Betts singles.
After he got hit by a pitch and then they called it,
yeah.
it hit the knob. Braves fans, I follow a few on Twitter. They were all mad, like, no, he didn't get hit. And then turns out, it ended up being better for the Dodgers because he doubles, and then you could pick it up from there.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, and we could go back to the Will Smith too. I'm complaining about the 2 balls that got called strikes. If either of those are called a ball, then he walks. He doesn't hit the home run. So shout out to the umpire who was terrible tonight, and somehow it played in our favor. But Mookie Betts singles to left field. This is another guy that the Dodgers start to get going. He gets 2 singles after he makes the great catch. He singles, and then Seager comes up, and oh my goodness, Corey Seager. I mean, my go-to is Seagy bomb. I mean, I tweeted Seagy damn bomb. That ball was smashed to right center field. Another no-doubter. He knew it immediately. You've got Will Smith for the Dodgers, who's typically pretty stoic. You've got Corey Seager for the Dodgers, who's typically pretty stoic. Mookie Betts, even, who's typically pretty stoic. And these 3 guys on these 3 hits absolutely lose their mind. The Dodgers go up by 5 runs. And from there, I mean, I started to believe the Dodgers have done it, Daniel. They got my hopes back up, and I genuinely believe that they have a chance to win the series now.
Yeah, I mean, this show might as well be called the Corey Seager show. We've been on the Corey Seager hype train all year long. He's been awesome. 2 more home runs tonight. That second one was just absolutely demolished. And I love it when he shows emotion too. Like he let out a little roar after he hit it that we saw back in 2017 when he took Verlander deep. So that was awesome. And I just want to read a stat I saw on Twitter via Sarah Langs, who's a great follow. But Corey Seager's 4 homers this series it ties the most homers by a Dodgers player in a postseason series with Steve Garvey in the 1978 NLCS, Duke Schneider in the 1955 World Series, and Duke Schneider in the 1952 World Series.
Wow.
So that's elite company right there. Seager's been locked in, not just this postseason. He's been locked in all season long. And thank God for him, because for most of the night tonight, he was the only one. He got him going. Everyone else followed, so that it was just fun to watch. Corey Seager's a really good dude, so whenever he has success, I get extra happy.
Yeah, and I think they even said on the broadcast his 4 home runs, the most ever by a shortstop in a playoff series, and I believe he set the Dodger record for RBI in a playoff series as well. And we're talking about Game 5. I mean, it's not like this is a 7-game series. He's got one, potentially 2 more games to go. So it's pretty fascinating there. But we'll get back to Seager. We'll get back to Smith. Let's close out how the game ends. Baez comes back out. The Dodgers are up 5. He gives up a leadoff single. I was perfectly good with the decision to bring Baez back out. He was great in the inning before. You're up by 5. Now you're starting to think, can we conserve some arms? It's not about how many pitches does Baez throw as much as if we can just keep it to get 2 innings out of Baez or 4 outs or 5 outs. They can't do it. Riley leads off with a single, so they go to Victor Gonzalez. He walks the first batter he faces. He can't throw strikes. Every strike that he threw for the first 2 batters basically were swings and misses out of the zone. And then out of nowhere, he gets a double play from Pache. A great play by Turner, by the way. Yeah. When they showed the replay, that ball took a nasty hop right before. He gets his glove down, gets the turn. Acuna flies out to left, and they get out of the inning. So all of a sudden, the Dodgers are up 5. They get out of the inning. They bring Victor Gonzalez back out for the 8th, the same type of idea. Freeman doubles the ball down the line. Double's a little misleading, A, because it wasn't hit very hard. He just beat the shift. And B, because Chris Taylor makes an unbelievable play, an unbelievable throw. Turner just drops the tag. Should have had him. Taylor, seems to tweak his ankle, maybe. Freeman eventually comes around to score, but Gratterall gets them out of the inning after Gonzalez gives up the double. Taylor comes out of the game for Jock Peterson in the 9th. Kenley Jansen comes in, 1-2-3 inning, 3 strikeouts. I believe he touched 93 with his cutter. So 94, which is probably, that might be a career high at this point. But the Dodgers win. The Dodgers win 7-3. The bullpen is not perfect looking toward tomorrow, but it's not terrible either. We'll talk about tomorrow a little bit, but I just want to focus on the performances we got. I thought this was a fascinating game for the Dodger bats and the Dodger bullpen, because those are the 2 things that have been question marks this series so far. The bats come through, they get things going, and it wasn't just once. They were able to battle through counts, they were able to draw walks, they were able to hit with 2 strikes, they were able to hit with runners in scoring position, they were able to hit home runs. And then you get to the bullpen, and you get, again, Treinen was really good for 2 innings. Even Joe Kelly wasn't great, but he kind of survived. He got lucky he was on the mound when Mookie Betts made the great play. So your boy Joe Kelly gets a scoreless inning. But Treinen, 6 up, 6 down. He's arguably the Dodgers' best reliever. He looked good tonight. Gonzalez wasn't great, but Gratterall was. Baez was good. Jansen was good. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes too high, but this was like if you could script it, what do I want from the Dodgers? I want the bats to get going, and I want the bullpen to look dominant, and it did tonight.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much better Dave Roberts looks when the guys he brings in just come and shut it down, right? Yeah. Like, it's insane. But I do want to give Dave Roberts a little bit of credit, because he saw that Dustin May didn't have it. No, he wasn't awful. He only gave up 2 runs, but it clearly wasn't Dustin May at his best. He was missing his spots. He wasn't, getting any swing and misses. And he took him out after 2 innings. Yeah. I mean, this was a do or die game, and Roberts managed it like it was a do or die game. So that I like that a lot. And yeah, credit to the bullpen. I mean, Blake Treinen was just absolutely dominant in 2 perfect innings. Pedro Baez looked great too. His changeup was filthy. And then Victor Gonzalez didn't look good at first, but was able to get that double play ball and get out of it. And then Brusdar and Kenley took care of the rest. So yeah, it was a good night for the bullpen. And then as far as the offense goes, we're just gonna completely put to the side that AJ Minter just absolutely dominated them. And we're going to take that as a blessing in disguise, because now we probably won't see him again this series, which is a good thing the way he looked. But I mean, they easily could have just folded after how those first 3 innings went, and they continued to battle. They put up good at bats. They drew some walks. They hit some homers, which they haven't done a whole lot in this stadium this postseason. Yeah. So that was good. They could have had another one that was robbed by Pache in center. Max Muncy hit a ball 415 feet, somehow doesn't get out. Absolutely ridiculous stadium. But, I mean, yeah, it was just a huge team win tonight. Credit to them for finally waking up and realizing, like, hey, we're a really good team, and we want to win the World Series still. Like, we're not ready to be done yet. So, yeah, it was a great night overall.
I'll say this, Daniel. The chat is not happy about the Dave Roberts love that's being shared right now. But it is fascinating. I mean, I do want to make a point about managers because I do think this was a perfect example of when people try and blame managers, it cracks me up. Because I'll say this. Yeah. So Dave Roberts pulls Dustin May after the second. Now, what's fascinating is you could have made the argument that he even left him in too long then. So the second inning starts. He was a mess in the first. The second inning starts. He gives up a walk. He gets a strikeout. He gives up a single to get first and third. He gives up another single to score a run. So now you've got first and second with one out with Acuna and Freeman up. I honestly thought I couldn't believe they left him in for that spot. At one point, I don't even think after Acuna got out they had anybody warming. He gets Acuna, he gets Freeman, he gets out of the inning. But that's a perfect example of if Acuna or Freeman hits anything, people are freaking out about Dave Roberts. Now go to the other side with the Braves. I mentioned Shane Green. Shane Green looked terrible when he came in. He couldn't find the strike zone, and every strike he did throw was right down the middle. It was his third day pitching in a row. The Braves theoretically had a full bullpen at their disposal, and they went to Shane Green, and yet the Dodgers couldn't make him pay. So it's one of those situations where a manager makes the right move, a manager makes the wrong move. Sometimes it doesn't matter. You can make the wrong move and get lucky. You can make the right move and get unlucky. And so I think Roberts has made a lot of right moves that people are critical of, but I don't want to talk about Dave Roberts any more than we already have. I think the story of this game, go for it.
Yeah, just real quick. Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying they won the game because of Dave Roberts.
Totally.
Like, the only thing I credit him for was taking out May as early as he did.
Totally.
May didn't have it. But yeah, no, this is all on the relievers came through and the offense came through. That's what it comes down to.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is a fascinating question. And obviously, I'm not asking about who's available tomorrow, who's not. But I want to just do a bullpen check-in because we're here.
Yeah.
Give me the three relievers in order that you have the most confidence in. If the Dodgers can get to Game 7 and they've got a fully rested bullpen, let's say Buehler gives them 7 innings, Urias gives them 2 innings, and every single reliever gets tomorrow off. The Dodgers need 9 outs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th of Game 7. Who's in the 7th, who's in the 8th, who's in the 9th? Ignore situational stuff. I mean, I know that's important, but who's in the 7th, who's in the 8th, who's in the 9th? Who do you trust right now?
To me, the 3 guys that I still trust more than anyone else, to me, it's still Gratterall, Victor Gonzalez, and Blake Treinen. Those are the 3 guys for me. I mean, if you could guarantee me that Kenley looks as good as he did tonight, I would add him to that list. But we just have no clue what he's going to look like. So I don't know if I'm ready to send him up there against the top of the order in a 1-run game or anything. So for me, it's still, even though Gratterall and Gonzalez and Treinen, they've had their struggles in this series, but they all look pretty good tonight. Gonzalez figured it out after not looking
figured
great.
it out's one way to put it.
Figured it out. Hey, the guy knows how to get out. So to me, those are still the 3 guys. Would you agree?
I just think it sounds crazy, but I think I would trust Jansen. Gonzalez, it's 2 outings in a row. He hasn't been great. Yes, he got out of it tonight, but sometimes the ball just bounces your way. That's a perfect example of sometimes the ball bouncing away. He could not throw strikes to save his life, and he gets a double play and a pop out. So, Treinen was great tonight, has been bad 2 other times in this series. And Gratterall, I do trust Gratterall. But I think, Jansen was so good.
He was.
Because the thing is, and I keep coming back to this, and this is the issue with Gratterall, and it's the issue with Treinen as well. Strikeouts are so key in the postseason. It's not about just being able to get outs, although that's important. But in big spots, when there's runners on base, if you can get a strikeout, it changes the complexity of it. And yes, Jansen on his worst night is really, really bad. But Jansen on his best night, which we saw tonight, yes, it was against the bottom of the lineup. Those guys couldn't touch it. 3 strikeouts, throwing the ball in the strike zone. So if maybe it's just as simple as don't trust Jansen on back-to-back nights. I don't know if we just never pitch him in back-to-back nights, but it feels like when he's fresh, he has been really good. So I don't know the order there. Treinen's probably still my guy in the 9th. I'd probably go Gratterall in the 7th and Jansen in the 8th. That's probably the order I would have it. I'd have Gonzalez warming as my put-out guy if I needed it. There's not a ton of lefty-lefty matchups that you really love. Freeman kind of hits everybody, and there's not really any other lefties that you're sort of like, oh, we need to get the left-hander in here to face. You want the righty against most everybody else, including Albies, so he flips over. But yeah, I'd love to hear from people that are in the chat. Baez looked good tonight, but I'm not sure we're ready to trust him. They brought him out for the 4th out, and it wasn't great. So Gabriel Ramirez is not a Baez guy. He used some profane language to explain that. But somebody says I trust Jansen if it's the bottom of the order. If Jansen hits 94 with good movement. I'll trust him if we're up by 3 runs. So that's like, I'll trust Jansen if he's touching 94, if his ball's moving, and if we're up by 3 runs.
I mean, to me, that tonight was a perfect Kenley Jansen close it out night, right? Like 4-run lead, bottom of the order. I had no problem going to Kenley in that spot. Let me ask you real quick though. So you made a good point about guys, you liking guys that miss bats. So where does Jake McGee fall on your list?
I mean, that's the thing. In the regular season, McGee was, like, statistically, sabermetrically, he was the Dodgers' best reliever in a lot of ways because he strikes out more guys per 9 innings. What's so fascinating is, A, they don't seem to trust him, and B, it seems like they're probably justified. He hasn't been very good. So I don't understand that. I mean, how he was so good for the Dodgers in the regular season and how he just fell completely out of favor or something. I mean, McGee's definitely in there. If you... Like I said, my confidence in Gonzalez after the last 2 outings is not super high. This is a guy who's a younger one, whereas McGee's been around, so I might trust McGee there. I mean, and that's the situation, right? If you have runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, you want McGee there because he gives you a far better chance of getting a strikeout rather than the ball getting put into play. So there's definitely some of that. But I think those are the 5 guys you trust the most. I think McGee is the 5th. And I mean, but that's the thing, right? Because here we are, because Baez is the 6th. Those are 6 pretty good relievers. We're not even talking about Joe Kelly. Now, I am going to say this. There's people saying Kershaw out of the bullpen. And if you do that to me, I swear I'm going to put my head through a wall. Because
I mean, to me, that's like a Game 7 last resort, where out of arms type thing. Like, I'm not willingly going to him. But let me ask you this. Are we in agreement that the first arm after Buehler tomorrow should be Julio?
Yeah, I mean, that was interesting. I was texting with my brother, actually, and he was the one who mentioned, because I threw out on Twitter, I said, okay, the Dodgers are up by 5. They had gotten out of their jam. I said, in the 8th and the 9th, do the Dodgers burn their high-leverage relievers, a guy like Gratterall, a guy like even Jansen, or do they save them and say, hey, we're going to take our chances that Floro and Wood and whoever else out in the bullpen can get us 6 outs, and then we can get in with knowing we have Gratterall for Game 6 and 7 if we need him, etc. And his response was exactly that. He says, no, you don't worry about it because you're basically banking on Buehler giving you 6, and then you bring Urias in for 1, 2, 3,
right.
And then you go from there. And with 6 guys who are all really good, obviously you don't need to save all 6 of those for Game 7. So Jansen could pitch tomorrow and be unavailable for Game 7. Gratterall could pitch tomorrow and be unavailable. So it is interesting. I mean, I guess I would say I'll see how it plays out because the flip side is, let's say Buehler can get you 7. Do you just go to the bullpen and do you save Julio as the piggyback guy in Game 7? Because, I mean, I think we're all both in agreement that we want Gonsolin to start Game 7, would start a potential Game 7. And so, I mean, I think you just play it by ear. I guess to me, I would say there's an inning limit where at some point Buehler crosses the line and I say, don't go to Urias, give me some of the guys out of the bullpen. Maybe that's if he can get through, maybe if he can get into the 7th, I say go to the bullpen. What about you?
Yeah. To me, I'd probably lean towards Julio tomorrow after Buehler. He pitched in Game 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow would be his normal bullpen day. So he could give you like 1 or 2 innings. So to me, I'd probably rather throw Julio tomorrow and then save the the rest of the traditional relievers for a potential Game 7. But I mean, I don't hate it either way. I wouldn't mind Julio in Game 7 after Gonsolin either, if that's what they go with. But I definitely would like to see Julio pitch in one of these 2 games because to me, he's been the team's pretty much their best pitcher this postseason overall. Like, he's been awesome. So I definitely want to see him in one of these 2 games.
Yeah, and some people are saying, what about just starting Urias in Game 7? That would be on short rest. So I don't think there's a big enough difference between Urias and Gonsolin to say, yeah, let's start Urias on short rest versus Gonsolin on full rest.
Right, and also to add to that, we've seen Julio in the first inning this season, and it's typically not pretty. We've seen him out of the bullpen, and it's usually very pretty. So I think I'd rather have Julio out of the bullpen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to hear from people again where people are at on the bullpen because I thought tonight was a fascinating game. This is the beauty of the playoffs and the curse of the playoffs. We're dealing with unbelievably small sample sizes at all times where opinions can change in a heartbeat. And yes, it was the bottom of the order, but I mean, Jansen could not have looked any better than he did. And that's encouraging. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of what you think about Kenley Jansen and have thought about him for the last 3 weeks, month, 6 months, if the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, they need him. Like, they absolutely, especially in this series, because they have 2 more wins to get and a bullpen that's not at full strength going into Game 6. Kolarik's another guy Maxwell he mentions. I mean, Kolarik, again, he came in a little bit and hasn't been super sharp, but it's another guy that, he's another one I thought about. He's actually the guy I was like, maybe you just bring Kolarik in for the 8th and hope for the best there. But
yeah, I mean, maybe Kolarik in like a big spot against Freeman, but I feel like the 3 batter minimum just kind of destroyed all of his value. Like we don't have a whole lot of trust in him against right-handed batters, and this Braves lineup, other than Freeman, they're pretty much all right-handed. So I don't know if this particular series is a Kolarik series. But maybe if it's like bases loaded, 2 outs with Freeman up, and you really need to get that out, maybe you go to him there. But other than that, I don't know if I'm just trusting him to give him a full inning.
Yeah. I mean, and Taylor mentions in the chat, if the Dodgers are going to win this series, Kenley's going to be in a spot again. Like unless the Dodgers have back-to-back blowouts in Game 6 and 7, and obviously nobody's assuming they're going to win Game 6, so don't mishear me here. But I mean, if the Dodgers they're going to need at least 6 innings out of their bullpen in the next 2 games total. That's without a doubt. So, I mean, I can assure you that if Jansen's getting one of those 6, unless, again, it's a blowout in one of the 2, and you can get Alex Wood to mop up some duty and go from there. So let's go back to kind of one of the things I mentioned earlier, and I'm curious if you agree. I was saying the reason that I feel different today than I did after last night and even after Game 3 when the Dodgers had an outstanding offensive production is because this was the first time that it felt like they faced adversity. It was the first time where it felt like they were staring defeat and the end of their season. I looked at Dave Roberts at one point, and I'm like, that looks like a guy who knows that his career with the Dodgers might be over. Like, it just looked like that. And yet for them to battle, and for them, even in that situation with the Muncy drawing the walk and with Smith battling in that at-bat and then getting the 3-run home run, that felt so huge to me. And then for Gonzalez to get out of the jam, for Baez to look as good as he did, to me, that sort of shifted things. Like, okay, I think these guys for the first time actually believe. Like, I think the first game they score all those runs and then they just immediately go back cold like the next day. This one felt different. And maybe, am I just being a crazy optimistic Dodger fan, Daniel, or is there actually something to that?
I mean, hey, they did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business. We saw this team all season. Like, every time they got punched in the mouth, they were able to bounce back. They didn't lose 3 straight games all year. I keep talking about that one Padres series at Petco Park when Grisham hit the homer and they lost that first game and the Padres won the World Series and then the Dodgers came back and won 2 straight after that. So I think it was a little uncharacteristic, just the lack of fight we saw in some of the games this series. And then they came out tonight completely flat, and we're like, oh, are they just going to completely just roll over and call it a season? But they didn't, to their credit. So I think you have a point that this one was different. They didn't come out and score 11 runs in the first inning. Like, they were losing. This was the first game that they trailed in, and they were able to overcome that deficit. And also, there were a couple times when the bullpen was in there where it probably could have gotten out of hand, right?
Yeah.
Like particularly, I look back at that Victor Gonzalez inning. He was 1 pitch away from loading the bases up with no outs from Acuna.
Freeman and
a few
Ozuna.
pitches later, the inning was over. So they didn't let it get away from them. And also early in the game when Dustin May wasn't looking great, it could have got away there too. So they kept it close, and then they overcame the deficit. So yeah, they showed some fight. They showed they're not ready to be done yet, and all we can hope for is that they come out tomorrow, the same way.
Yeah, so let's talk about tomorrow. Max Fried is back on the mound for the Braves. Walker Buehler for the Dodgers. It's the same matchup that we saw in Game 1 of this series. Obviously, that game did not go the way that the Dodgers had hoped that it would go. Fried was pretty good for the Braves. Walker Buehler was not, I don't think anyone would argue, at his best. The Dodgers lost that game 5-1. So as you look ahead to tomorrow, a couple interesting things. First, I would expect Kike Hernandez will be in the lineup for the Dodgers. It seems to make perfect sense with Chris Taylor leaving early that would be just a natural substitution, that he would be able to come in and take Taylor's spot at second. He gives you the left-handed bat, the right-handed bat against the lefty Fried. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. But I mean, other than that, how do you feel about sort of this heading into this game? They lose 5-1 in Game 1. Fried 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Buehler only goes 5 innings. He walked 5 while giving up 3 hits. Yes, it's only 1 earned run, but I mean, that gives you the context for Kershaw's start. Buehler gave up more base runners than Kershaw. He gets charged with 1 earned run. Kershaw gets charged with all of them. So, I mean, how are you feeling? Buehler has not been his best. He has struggled with control. He set a season high in walks in back-to-back starts. But it's a big moment. This guy feels like he was built for a big moment. How are you feeling about tomorrow?
I mean, yeah, Walker Buehler, if he's proven anything in his career, it's that he's a big game pitcher, and that no moment is too big for him, right? He pitched he pitched a game 163, was awesome. He pitched a game 7 on the road in Milwaukee, was great again. He pitched a World Series game when they were down 2-0, was great. So I mean, he hasn't looked like himself this postseason, and you have to imagine the blister has something to do with that. But I still, it's still Walker Buehler, and I still think, on any given night, he could be the best pitcher on the planet, and he could go out and give him 6 or 7 great innings. So, I feel good knowing Walker Buehler's on the mound. Max Fried's a good pitcher too. He's a lefty. The Dodgers struggle against lefties, but I feel like in Game 1 they probably should have gotten to Fried more than they did.
Yeah.
Like they were taking some good at bats. They had his pitch count up early. So there definitely were some positives to take away, even though they weren't able to score. So, hopefully they could come out and score some early runs and get an early lead and just kind of ride that momentum. This is a Braves team that, they haven't really been punched in the mouth at all until tonight. So they're a young team. We don't really know how they're going to respond to adversity. So if you come out and score some early runs, maybe they'll just roll over. And then in Game 7, anything could happen. So, I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, so in Game 1 against Fried, they had runners on first and second in both the first inning and the second inning. Will Smith strikes out in the first inning, and Mookie Betts flies out to center field in the second inning. And from there, it was kind of a mess. Kike Hernandez obviously gets the home run. That's all the Dodgers do. Blake Trinan blows the game late, giving up 3 runs on just a third of an inning. So it will be a fascinating one. Like I said, I'd expect to see Kike Hernandez in there at second base. Any other changes for you? Does Pollock get to stay in left field? Who do you have at DH?
It's a lefty on the mound, so maybe Jock's not in the lineup would be the only thing I could think of.
So do you go Rios there if Kike is starting at second?
Yeah, maybe you go Rios. Yeah, he's kind of more neutral splits. He's not as drastic as Jock. So maybe you go Rios in the DH spot. I'm definitely having Pollock in there. He's maybe the team's best hitter against lefties. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what other changes you could realistically make.
Yeah.
Other than Rios for Jock and Kike for Taylor, depending on Taylor's health.
Yeah, and Pollock was 1 for 3 against Fried in Game 1. So he did have a hit in that game, which was unlike basically most of the rest of the Dodgers lineup. So, obviously it's a big one. Elimination game again for the Dodgers. There's not a whole lot of time to celebrate this one because they're right back at it tomorrow in the same exact position, still 2 wins away from doing anything really of substance in this one, right? This game is meaningless if you don't win the next 2. So the Dodgers definitely have their work cut out for them. But, look, we've picked the Dodgers to win all the time. And I picked them to lose the series last night, but I genuinely felt like that Smith home run was a big moment. It felt like a moment where the Dodgers had their backs against the wall, and for the very first time in the playoffs, they showed a little bit of fight. They showed a little bit of, you know what, we're not just going to roll over here and let this thing die. And it was kind of a puffing out of the chest a little bit. And so it'll definitely be interesting to see. Tomorrow's an early first pitch, 1:38 West Coast time. So definitely will be, we're talking not a whole lot of hours from now. 15 hours from now, the Dodgers will be playing again. So we will definitely see what happens. You imagine out of the bullpen, a bunch of those guys won't be available. Gratterall and Gonzalez have both pitched in back-to-back games, so I would imagine the 2 of them are unavailable. Is there anybody else I'm missing that you can think of who pitched the last 2 games, Daniel? Jansen?
Baez, maybe?
I don't know if he pitched the night before. I can pull it up real quick.
But when we say unavailable, these are must-win games. So, like, at the end of the day, if you have to go to one of those guys, you will. Obviously, you'd like to avoid them, especially knowing there's a Game 7 as well. But I don't think anyone's going to be straight up unavailable. Like, there's a 0% chance we see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think though they would like to go to a young guy 3 days in a row though.
Yeah, and Gonzalez and Graterol are the only two. Gonzalez threw 22 pitches last night and 17 tonight. So that's a decent amount of pitches for a guy. And keep in mind, I mean, the Dodgers have to play. Yes, it's a must-win tomorrow, but they also have to keep in mind that there is a Game 7 there. So at some point you have to say to yourself, is it really worth risking Gonzalez here, not even knowing what kind of production you're going to get when you say if we rest him in Game 6 and get to a Game 7, then he's there. So definitely interesting. Well, let's end it how we always end it, with some predictions. You predicted a blowout today. I don't even remember what I predicted. I feel like I predict 7-3.
8-2 or something.
I predict 7-3 every game except for this one, and then it's 7-3. So it shows you how much I know. But Buehler on the mound, Fried for the Braves. The Braves' bullpen is intact. Their best relievers didn't get used at all tonight, with the exception of Will Smith, who's been terrible, so I don't think he's one of their best relievers. Your boy Josh Tomlin, probably unavailable, unfortunately, for the Braves. Big loss for them. Best pitcher in baseball, just 6 up, 6 down. But who do you got? What's your prediction?
I'll give him a little credit.
What's up for what do you got for a prediction? And if you're watching again on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, wherever you're at, please send me your score prediction. What do you got for a prediction? But what do you got, Daniel?
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be not crazy, high scoring. So I'm going to go 4-2 Dodgers.
4-2, low scoring. Okay, Daniel's taking the under tomorrow. I like that. I mean, I just keep coming back to the same thing. I look at this Dodger lineup, and it's hard for me to predict so few runs. We got Moses says 6-4. Maxwell says 4-3. Cannon says 5-2. We've got Cancer took the last of it, says 5-3. Chase just says Dodgers win, period. Adams predicting 5-3 Braves, sadly. So it's a Dodger fan with some realism. I can respect that a little bit. 3-1 Dodgers, I hope, from Think Blue 11. Let's see. Score doesn't matter. We're taking this to Game 7. Yeah, I mean, I just can't look at this lineup. I really think that the Dodgers, like, getting a guy like Mookie Betts going, he's the type of guy, because he was like the one guy in that big explosion game that still hadn't gotten anything going. It felt like he got things going tonight. He gets an infield single, and they had the quote from him. It's like basketball, where you just see one ball go through the net, and all of a sudden everything changes. His next at bat, really solid contact. Yes, it was a ground ball, so still not perfect, but really solid contact. Gets a base hit, and you got to believe he's confident. So I think the Dodgers score in the first inning tomorrow. That would be my bold prediction. I don't know how bold that is, but I just think they put the pressure on. I think they keep the momentum going. I think, Betts, Seager, and Turner are probably their 3 best hitters right now. Those guys all seem to be dialed in, and they get them right at the top of the lineup. So we'll see what we get, but I like the Dodgers there. Let's say, I think they get 6. I'm going to say 6-1. I think Buehler gives us his best performance of the postseason. I think the big moment gets him excited. He knows he escaped a 5-walk performance last time. He feels the pressure. He sees the momentum from today. He seems like a guy that's going to build off of that. So I've got the Dodgers winning. I don't even remember what I just say. 6-1. 6-1's my prediction. Your boy Ryan says 8-5. He's got the Dodgers winning tomorrow. Grayson says bold prediction. Melanson catches a home run in the bullpen. Hopefully it's a Dodger home run and not a Braves home run. Let's hope for that. Hopefully he's up. Well, no, I don't know. That doesn't work with any of my predictions. Melanson being up is bad for all of my predictions. So, I mean, and just to finish this out, do you still give me your confidence level, scale of 1 to 10, the Dodgers winning the series?
It's higher than last night. I think last night I was at like a 2. I'll go up to a 5 now. It's 50-50 at this point.
Okay. I think I'm at a 4. I'm not quite there, but if they win tomorrow, I think it's obviously a big deal. I didn't feel like Ian Anderson was that great for the Braves, and I think the Dodgers can get to him. And I mean, even Fried, yes, these guys pitched well, but these aren't like, it's not like Noah Syndergaard's on the other side. It's not like Max Scherzer's on the other side. These guys are good pitchers. They're not great pitchers. The Dodgers lineup should be enough. And again, I think the bullpen's just got a little bit of confidence. So that'll do it for us tonight. We've got the Dodgers, both of us winning. Early start tomorrow, 1:38 p.m. On Fox. So check that out. And hopefully we're back. We will be back tomorrow for postgame. Hopefully as excited as we were tonight. Looking forward to a Game 7. But check out DodgerBlue.com for a postgame. All your postgame coverage, postgame recap, that kind of thing. Dodger Blue 1958. Subscribe on YouTube if you have not already. That's the best place to get all of your Dodgers content. We've got postgame interviews, pregame interviews, all sorts of stuff. And then if you're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Dodger Blue 1958 as well. So we appreciate you joining us. Go Dodgers, and we'll see you tomorrow night.